Let's have a look at detailing things like bathrooms, kitchens, other things like that. The process is similar. It's basically using ArchiCAD's library parts to populate the room with the sorts of elements that you want to place there. So for example, in a kitchen, let's have a look at a kitchen. What we'd be looking at, I'm double clicking the object tool. It opens up ArchiCAD's library, and in this case what I'm doing is looking for furnishings, and then somewhere down there's kitchen cabinets. ArchiCAD 16's library is quite nice. It has quite an extensive range of kitchen cabinetry. As an introduction to library parts, the dialog box opens. Again, it's set out in a similar sort of way where the sizes of the objects are there, but the ArchiCAD library parts, kitchen cabinetry, have got this interface a bit the same as doors and windows, where you can go through the counter, the cabinet, drawers and other things like that, or you can just go through them this way and go through each one of them, and so you can change these to say 3 drawers, or alter them as you see fit. Yeah. You can see that there's preset settings that you can choose from. You can also see the object in plan, in elevation, in 3D, and in a shaded view, and it also gives you a generic photograph of the image and ways in which you can view that. So that's not necessarily what you're going to put down, it's just a photograph of one alternative method of putting that in. Basically, let's start with the corner cabinet. So I'm going to grab, say, this one, and you'll notice that in the plan view there's these little X's, and one of them has got a box around them. That's the one that you're going to be placing the object down onto the plan from that corner. So if I say OK, and you'll notice that in the library, in the info box, there's a couple of ways of placing objects. This one here just puts the object down, okay, in the same orientation as you saw in the window. This one here is quite handy because when you click a point, you can then rotate that object around to the way that best suits your room layout. Okay, so in my case, I want to put it in this corner. I click that corner and I can rotate it around so that it, holding the shift key by the way, locks that line vertically, and I can place that object into the room. I'm using the marquee to just cordon off a section of my model, and generating a 3D view using F5 on the keyboard. You can see the objects being placed in there. It has a number of interesting points about it. When you select an object like this, you'll notice that there is a number of purple spots. Each one of those allows you to stretch the object in various ways and interact with the object. So I'll just demonstrate those for you. Control H is the stretch command. So for example, I just generated that, Control H on the keyboard. I can grab that corner. You notice here it says counter height. So I can adjust the counter height using that purple spot. If I try it again, I can Control H again and click this point here, and a little thing comes up and tells me that that's an adjustment for the toe recess. Okay, and so if you want to, if I hit Tab on the keyboard, you notice that it gets highlighted, and I can add in the dimension I want. hit escape on the keyboard and you come out of that. You can also do things like Control H. I can click this point here and you can swing the door open if you want to have it open and show clients how you might want to use the kitchen for different, the storage units for different things. Let's have a look at putting another cabinet in. So back to the floor plan, F2. I'm going to double click the library tool, the little chair, and let's pick a drawer unit. Let's say this one, and I'm going to place this unit from this corner, say OK, and click it over here and rotate it back around holding the shift key so that it goes into place. You notice it seamlessly joins the countertop. That's one way of putting a kitchen all together. Generate a 3D view and you can see that I've put in a drawer unit. And for example, I can select that unit, go into Control H again. Let's say I pick up that corner. I can stretch the unit again holding the shift key so that I can set the width of the drawers to whatever I like. Hitting tab on the cursor, I can say make 900 wide drawers. Just make sure that that little button is turned on, otherwise the little pet palette that you click on that gives you all these distances and things won't appear on the screen. And you can go through and pick all the cabinets that you want. You can change, as I said before, you can open up the library tool and go through each one of these things and change the appearance of the cabinet. So you can change the types of doorknobs that you want, the types of colours and materials that you want. And there's a whole range of kitchen cabinetry that you can play with. There's also a whole lot of equipment there, appliances, so you can go through and choose oven tops and sinks, and it goes on and on. I'm sure you'll have hours of fun playing with that sort of stuff. Okay. Now, if I wanted to generate a drawing of all of that, I think the best, I'll hit escape just to get out of that, back to the floor plan, F2. One of the best ways of doing that is to use the internal elevation command. What it does, the way it works, is you notice that you also have a layer to put it in. So if you don't want it visible on the main floor plan, you can switch it off and only have the marker visible on a bathroom or laundry detail or kitchen detail. So I am going to change the scale of this thing. So down here I'm going to set that to say 1 to 20 and say OK, and suddenly the scale increases. Notice, by the way, ArchiCAD adds detail once the scale increases. So now I can see architraves where I couldn't before. I can see walls rendered where I couldn't before. Okay. Now, internal elevations, the way they work is you can use them a number of ways, but I guess the simplest way is you firstly draw, if I select my internal elevation tool, I'm going to draw a rectangle that represents the face of the walls that I want to draw, and then drag that back to where I want to view the elevation from. So it's going to see all the way back to the wall, but it's going to cut the elevation at this point here. So it generates a little symbol. These little drawing IDs change once I end up putting these drawings onto a layout, but I'll show you that in a moment. You'll notice that in your Navigator palette, in internal elevations now, I get new drawings, and I can double click any of those, and it will bring up information about the cabinetry that I've just created. So, and at that point, I can then, I can change the settings, so you can edit the interior elevation settings. So if you don't want color or other things like that, you can go into modeling and change that back so that I don't get color. But I can add notes now and dimensions, just like I showed you in dimensioning for the drawings. I can add those sorts of dimensions in. I can add labels, and I'll talk about labeling a little bit later, but you can add notes and dimensions and then save that as a drawing to put onto your layouts. That would apply exactly the same for a bathroom. I could put showers, basins, toilets, and do exactly the same sort of thing to populate a bathroom layout with all the equipment and fixtures that I want.